Welcome back to JR Morning. A federal judge is reviewing whether detainees at a temporary immigrant detention center in Florida, Everglades, nicknamed Alligator Alcatraz, have been denied their legal rights. And civil rights attorneys argue that detainees have not been given confidential access to their lawyers, while Florida officials dispute that claim. And joining us now to break down the legal implications is Fox News legal analyst and WJR contributor Jeremy Rosenthal. Jeremy, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I am well this morning. This facility, nicknamed Alligator Alcatraz, kind of explain what the core legal issue is in this case and why federal judges are now weighing in.
There's a handful. You've got an immigration detention center, which, think of it like this. Immigration is civil. It's not criminal. But anytime you are housing inmates, anytime you are locking people up, you gotta do a handful of things. You've got to allow them access to a judge. You've got to allow them access to a lawyer. You've got to feed them, house them. You've got to keep the rats out. You've got to do all these things. And this facility is struggling to accomplish a lot of these things. And the ACLU stepped in. Some of the inmates have sued. They've got even some environmental problems. Where there were supposed to, there's an Indian, a Native American tribe that has access to the land, that has a treaty with the land, and they're upset with the building of this. There's a whole mess of problems here.
Part of it was, they need to go before a judge. And last weekend, the Trump administration said that, okay, they can go to this Miami facility to do that. So that sort of took care of that issue. Is that right?
That's right. That's right. It made it what we call, this is a fancy legal word, which you can use in your everyday conversation. It made it moot, M-O-O-T, which, yeah, so it's no longer an issue because the Trump administration did that. And right. Obviously, the ACLU and these folks, the inmates, they claimed victory over that. They said, you wouldn't have done that unless we had sued, and maybe that's true and maybe it's not. But yes, that canceled that one issue out.
The question here at the heart of it is what constitutional rights, what rights does somebody have who came into the United States illegally? You've got Tom Homan, the immigration czar, saying things like, well, if you came into the United States illegally, you've already broken the law. So what rights do these folks have, at the very basic level?
That's a wonderful question. The framers of the Constitution, and this is 200 plus years of jurisprudence. Another good fancy word that I learned.
That one you can't quite use in everyday lingo.
No, I try, boy, and it gets me into fights. Let me tell you. But the uses different words in different spots, and the courts have said, well, this is very deliberate. It talks about citizens in certain instances where you're talking about the right to vote and certain other rights. When you're talking about due process, it applies to persons, which has basically been interpreted to mean any human being on our soil gets the Fifth Amendment, gets the First Amendment, gets the right to counsel, gets the right to confront witnesses against them. So, yes, so if you agree with Tom Homan, then what you have is somebody who is functionally accused of a crime, which means they still get a full set of due process, right? And what the ACLU would argue is they would say, look, okay, let's say we were Peru, or let's say we were Guatemala or some banana republic. How would we treat people, right? Would we do this? Would we set up a place and call it Alligator Alcatraz? Would we do that, or would we be Americans about it? And that's kind of some of where these fights come in, because again, anytime you're housing somebody, they do get access to a lawyer, and whether they need one, whether they're not, whether they're going to lose ultimately, or whether they're not, they still get access to things like this. The Department of Justice has said, or the immigration authorities have said, you had access to a lawyer down there. And the lawyers are saying, well, sort of, kind of, not really. We've got to call way too far in advance. This place is pretty remote, and you stand over us while we're talking to our clients. We're not really cool with that. Those I don't know how those issues shake out, but those are some of the complaints.
But those will go to different jurisdictions. Those will go to different judges to consider that.
Well, and yes, and actually it will now go to Miami because that was one of the problems, is that this is a brand new facility. They built it in Florida, and it was built for this purpose. And yeah, they had a problem because they didn't legally plumb it correctly, right? They didn't have the correct avenues for appeal. Now that that's been fixed, these inmates will be able to have their grievances at least heard.
Speaking with Jeremy Rosenthal, Fox News legal analyst, WJR contributor. In Jeremy, Florida, I understand planning a second detention facility. They're calling this one Deportation Depot. Could what happened, legally at Alligator Alcatraz influence how the future facilities will operate?
You would think so, right? You would think that what will happen here is that they will. You would think that what will happen is that they'll sort of learn and look. I mean, you can. The Trump administration, Homan, they talk a real tough game, and they want to show everybody that they're really serious about it. They also don't want unnecessary headaches, right? So you would think that whatever happens going forward, they would try to fix and to try to make sure that they can effectuate the means that they feel like that they were elected to do, right? Which is to be tough on immigration, to remove people who are here unlawfully. And look, from a lawyer's standpoint, and I'm a criminal defense lawyer, that's what I do. So a lot of this access to counsel type stuff is pretty near and dear to my heart. My thought is, look, if you're going to win, what does it hurt to let me talk to my client? If you're gonna mop the floor with us in court, what does it hurt to give us what we need anyway? And that, at least I don't have that to complain about, right? So yeah, you would think that going forward, we're not going to have these types of headaches.
Critics would say the naming of these facilities is dehumanizing. The food, the toilets that don't flush, the flooding floors with fecal waste. What's being done to address that aspect of it?
Well, you would hope that that the government takes care of this on their own without legal intervention. Again, the ACLU would argue, look, how would they treat people like this in North Korea? And either we're better than North Korea or we're not. Right. Everybody wants to flex on the bad guy, and that doesn't prove that you're good at this, and it doesn't prove that you're right. It just proves that you're, I think the ACLU would say petty or something like that. The naming of it, right? Everybody can get over that. I mean, that's sure, that's politics, but yeah, you would hope that they get some of these other issues squared away, because I don't know that anybody really, I don't know that we need that.
We got about 30 seconds. The judge says a quick decision coming. How quick is a quick decision, you think?
Boy, quick in legal terms, June? What is it now, August? Yeah, June, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, probably. He made a partial ruling yesterday, and I don't know if we've got more coming this week. Sometimes they'll roll it out like that, but that's the one thing in the law is we're measuring twice and cutting once. We're not fighter pilots, and we're not having to make those split-second decisions. But yeah, that's sometime before 2026 or 7, unless it's not.
Maybe 28. We'll see.
Yeah,
well, sure, whatever.
Yeah.
As long as the lawyers are getting paid, I don't care. That's fine.
I know that's right. Fox News legal analyst, WJR contributor Jeremy Rosenthal. Thank you so much for your insight this morning.
Have a great day.